Hi everyone, I'm AyeforScotland and we are back for some more Roottrees mania. We're playing the Roottrees Are Dead and we've finished the base game. We are now into the kind of second post-game extra puzzles section. So I'm going to make myself small, we're going to dive into it. We made some alright progress last time and I think we can maybe nail down a couple of these characters today. So, a little bit of a recap just to get us kind of warmed up again. We are charting out infidelities. There are three kind of main players of the Roottrees family that have had affairs. They've had children as a result of these affairs. Those children are technically entitled to some of the Roottrees fortune. So we're trying to figure all that out. The first one is Elias Roottrees and Bess Williams. Bess wrote a book that was a kind of propaganda book about how wonderful Elias was. We've then got Miracle Roottrees, who shagged Mary Beth Quaker, ended up having a kid. Don't think that Stuart Clementine is the child. I think it's Mark Clementine that's the child of Miracle, that is. Because I think Stuart Clementine's the adopted one. So we've got a pathway here that we need to figure out. We've got a lot here we need to try and solve as well. That's a bit of a mess, and we are slowly but surely trying to figure out Guy Hudson. And we've got kind of Joanna Robertson. The first one, David Fellows being the musician, he is a Roottrees, that's confirmed. We know we don't have a photo for Christine Farrow. Don't know anything about the children there either, so we'll try and tackle this. One thing that we did get, and to be honest, it was a little bit of an assumption on my part last time, but we've managed to connect that Stephanie Landon and Brian Jones have had a child, and that both of them might be Roottrees. And I'm kind of curious at what this kind of top secret one will be. We'll get to that later. Anyway, we're gonna start on the left hand side and we're gonna continue a wee bit more. I think we're gonna research. It was Frank Williams, but I think it was Frank. Was it was it Wildcat? What was the? We had something about him, didn't we? Confidential. Anything from? Yeah, Frank Wildcat Williams. So we're gonna look him up. Grab him. So again, Frank Wildcat Williams, listed on a few different military history websites. Navy Cross Medal in World War II. Story goes he got shot. Managed to carry a fellow soldier through enemy territory for 2 miles. Died in 1996, age 74. An obituary on the website written by surviving family sheds light on his personal life. Grew up as an orphan. His father died in a hurricane when he was young. Could barely remember his mother. Had no memory of his father. I mean, his father was Elias Roottrees, so... After the war, runs a construction company that hired World War II vets. Anecdote mentions he used to insist he married his wife Ophelia as a matter of courtesy and convenience. She wouldn't have to change her last name. A photo is attached of Frank in his youth juggling hammers in front of one of his construction sites, as he was often known to do. According to the article, he's survived by Ophelia, as well as his daughters Barb and Shan Williams. So from that, we'll be able to glean that Williams was the surname of Ophelia. And we've got, can we look up maybe Sharon and Barb? We'll go with Sharon Williams first. Nothing. What about Barb? Barb Williams is a motivational speaker. She has a website that explains the services she offers. Her company's address is listed as Coconut Grove in Florida, and the flyer's been added to my thing. Okay, so we've got Barb Williams. This flyer includes 3 different testimonials from Greta Jones from WQTV12, Vic Elmsworth from the Kickewa Falls Gazette, and Isabel Crosby, the superintendent of Benton County. So we're going to search that. There is no Kickewa Falls anywhere in the world that you can find. Closest thing to a Kickewa appears to be in New Zealand. Instead, a man named Chris Elmsworth has invented a small-town newspaper as a conceptual art piece. Kikiwa Falls Gazette is a series of online articles about small restaurants, shows, and other tourist attractions all across the United States. This is presented as a monthly newspaper of small-town America. What makes the Kikiwa Falls Gazette a bit strange is that amongst the articles detailing real locations are occasional stories that present outlandish and inflammatory concepts in extremely mundane ways. For example, on the homepage right now is an article entitled "Mermaids Strike Back Against Lobster Farms" that, using very dry language, details the idea that mermaids in Maine have begun to unionise in support of better benefits. There are no punchlines. The articles are not marked any differently from the rest. Fortunately, each current issue of the newspaper is presented on the homepage. There are no archives of older issues. Fuck. So I'm guessing it's interesting that there's an adoption there. We've got this pre-filled in with John Doe. Huh. So we're gonna go with her as Barbara Williams. And she is a motivational speaker? I don't know what that comes under. Public speaker, there we go. That'll do. Might as well look up Chris Elmsworth, see what the deal is with him. Nothing. Okay. Nothing there either. Book Barb for corporate retreats, church events, or even school assemblies. She can customise her message for any audience. Can always look up her. Greta Jones is, according to a flyer in your possession, the morning news anchor for a channel called WQTV12. Has no online web presence whatsoever. You do find it listed on a giant list of television call signs next to the city Springfield under the heading Effingham County. You may need to do a deeper dive on a specific city and state if any locals have discussed the news in that area. So if I go with Springfield, Effingham County, there is a Springfield. Oh well, thank God for that. So maybe it's Springfield, Georgia then? When you refine your search to television in and around Springfield, Georgia, you come across a website that lists different channels available there. List seems to run only feature broadcasts with female news anchors. The person who runs the website has ranked each using 3 categories, none are relevant to journalism. One of the entries is Channel 12, Greta Flores. Greta Flores, Channel 12. Greta Flores is a news anchor who apparently used to go by Greta Jones before her divorce. Now we have a Jones. Compared to the ordeal you've gone through to simply figure out her current name, it's way easier than you expect to find out. She's a website of her accomplishments. She was apparently the MC for an all-female speaking tour in 1977. The tour was called Storytellers of Sisterhood, the Mothers and Daughters of Earth. You do a search for it, seems that some of the stories were compiled into a book simply titled 25 Stories of Sisterhood by Ayla Hale. So if I search this knowing that I'll need to look at the library. Okay, we're going to go with 25 Stories of Sisterhood by Ayla Hale. Ayla Hale. Nice. This is an anthology of stories told on a few different Storytellers of Sisterhood tours. Contains direct transcripts of the most well-received stories told on stage. Ayla Hale is the editor, not the sole author. One of the stories by Barb Williams has been added to the evidence. Excellent. What do we got? Barb Williams had the transcript of a story she told on stage published in a book. The first part of her story focuses on 2 16-year-old girls. My sister Sherry was a brat, always sulking, often disobedient, never on time. She borrowed things without asking, even ran away from home only to sneak back the next day like nothing had changed. My daughter Sharon, on the other hand, was a beautiful person. She had excellent marks in school, was intensely artistic and creative, and even volunteered at an animal rescue. She continues to tell stories of the two girls until she shifts the narrative. What was the difference between Sherry the brat and Sharon the beauty? Is it nature, nurture, a better education, different opportunities? The answer is nothing. There was no difference because my sister and my daughter are the same girl. Barb reveals that her daughter was the result of an unexpected pregnancy when she was only 15. I met a boy at a county fair. Unlike us, he lived in the nice part of town. He went to a good school. To a teenage girl, it felt like a fairy tale. But there were boxes all over his house. He was moving in 3 days. Those 3 days were heaven to me. The final night he surprised me. He told me he could actually see me again soon. He planned to return to visit his grandparents. I thought I was giving him a reason to keep his promise. I never saw him again. When I finally got desperate enough to ask around, a friend of a friend told me he hadn't even given me his real last name. Barb also talks about when she found out she was pregnant. I was convinced my life was over, but my parents, they took charge, had to live at home and work a part-time job, but they removed the burden of motherhood. I managed to scrape out a degree in English, and as far as my daughter was concerned, I was her much older sister. Barb uses the story to come to a conclusion. When I was younger, I thought my sister was the brat, and I wasn't wrong, but she ran away from home to work at that animal shelter. She borrowed my clothes for presentations at school, and her creativity allowed her to open up Sherry's hair. It took me far too long to realise the beauty was always there too. In fact, the brat and the beauty exist in all of us. It was my inner brat that kept me blind to the truth. I'd like to say it's the beauty in me that's finally able to see what I was missing. I implore you to call upon the beauties in yourselves whenever the brat tries to take hold. Okay. So we know now that Sharon Williams, she opened up a hairdresser, but we don't have any photos of her, which is a little bit of a nuisance. But that does explain this. Barb, Sherry's hair, maybe? We can maybe look that up. There's a Sherry's hair in Orlando. The owner of the business is listed as Sherry Yazdrzemski. Sherry has a large van and on weekends can bring the style of Britney, Christina, or even the Rachel to your door. The About Sherry section is very, very long and presented as one paragraph with multiple run-on sentences and no pictures. You get the sense that if she were to do your hair, she'd be doing a lot of talking. It mentions that her husband Pete was her late husband's college roommate. She and he had never spent any significant time together until she became a widow and they built a charity together. They left the charity behind because it was growing beyond their ability to run it. She brags about her kids Tony, Mark and Cricket. Her oldest, Tony, seems to get the short end of the stick. His two listed accomplishments are that he's the oldest and he has straight A student. Mark, on the other hand, multiple baseball accomplishments listed. Apparently his little league team is nationally recognised. Cricket York is near the end and has an entire section dedicated to her. She's an actress on a local television show called Library. And the reason Sherry relocated from Miami to Orlando. Sherry, in addition to being hireable to come to your do, is a stylist for the show. Passage also mentions that her agent recommended they change her last name to York since it was easier to pronounce. The rest of the section describes how she got the part. Seems unimportant to your search. Right. So is Sherry Yazdrzemski her first husband's name or her second husband's name? From a elders, where was that? We've got Tony, I'm guessing Tony, Mark and Cricket. We've got Tony here. Probably Anthony then. And we've got Mark. So, well, let's start with Cricket York. Library is a children's show filmed at a studio in Orlando, Florida. It's been on the air since 1991. In the show, multiple adults and children interact with different animal puppets in a small town called Library. Unlike some other popular shows involving non-human performers, this one isn't funded by the public. Instead, it's paid for by donations from businesses related to education. This includes textbook manufacturers like Corithmetic, tutoring companies like Educate You, oh god, that's horrible, and a few well-known publishers of picture books. From what you can find, it's syndicated in a few markets across the southern United States and in New Hampshire for some reason. Like most other children's entertainment, many of those that grew up with it tend to have fond memories. That works in your favour because the show's been documented by a few fan sites. There's even a library web ring, though it only has 3 entries. You click through the sites in the ring and find that Cricket York joined the cast in 1997 at the age of 5, still listed as a current cast member. A picture of Cricket from one of the episodes has been added to my evidence. Thank you, Cricket. Cricket York. So we've got... I'm going to tentatively put York in there at the moment, bearing in mind that her name has been changed, so we might end up... we should probably actually chuck it in there. That means that the partner here has the same surname. Don't know who these two are. She is an actor. She is that person. I was just checking that. I can't click on that. Cricket and Pooftail. There we go. Is it worth looking these up? I feel like probably not. Although it does take me... It's a math textbook publishing company. They were in the news last year when a primetime news programme did a full comparison of their 4th edition textbooks and their 5th edition textbooks. Whoa. Schools were complaining that 2 editions seemed remarkably similar, yet Corithmetic was charging almost double for the newer edition. The news programme announced that between the 2 books there was only 16 total changes. Most noticeable was that the cover was changed from a picture of a water droplet creating concentric rings on a lake to a close-up of a feather. The other 15 were all instances of changing 4th to 5th. This even led to a geometry problem where the book asked students to calculate the 5th side of a rectangle. Fuck's sake. And what about this? Tutoring service. They have a deal with Library and feature some of the actors from the show in pictures on their website. According to the site, they actually provide tutoring for all the actors and actresses on the show to accommodate their shooting schedules. Included is Cricket York, who's seen in a photo labelled Cricket and her brothers. Hell yeah. You don't find much about Educate You, except there seems to be a small subsection of Library fans who were deeply unsettled by the company's logo, which would appear after the credits of each episode. One writes, "I was terrified of the little girl in the Educate You logo. She looked like some kind of demon doll, and I'd race to the TV every day to switch the dial before a creepy laugh came on." What the fuck? Okay, we have photos. That is quite creepy, actually. Okay, so we're going with older, younger. So who was... Let's go with Sherry's hair again. Mentions that her husband Pete was her late husband's roommate. So, who then? We don't have anyone here. Shit. Maybe I'll look up Peter? Watch me botch this fucking spelling, so let's go with Peter. Yes. Trze. Trze. Imsky. Is that correct? Strze. Imsky. Strze. Imsky. Okay, that's fucking... Part of me feels like I've exhausted the... Like, there's nothing there to be gleaned from that. Nothing to be gleaned from that. That plated loaf's a bit funky. It's strange how we can't seem to find a photo of Sharon Williams anywhere. Bob Williams. Well, if I just look up this? Nothing. If we go back to Sherry's hair, his Little League team is nationally recognised. So they're all young then. What are we doing? Mark has multiple baseball accomplishments, Little League. Maybe like Orlando Little League? Orlando Baseball Little League? I have no idea what Little Leagues actually are. I'm guessing they're just like sports for young people, which parents will take way too seriously. It's so weird that we don't have a photo for her yet. Sharon Williams, Sherry's here. Is there anything style of Brittany, Christina, or even the Rachel to your door? They built a charity together. Library. I wonder if just looking that up could... Nope. Any entries? Nope. I'm surprised there's not any like behind the scenes photos or something that just like show her mum working on the show. Nah. Okay. Okay, there's something else here. I'm gonna fucking go over here for now. It's annoying that I don't have that photo and I don't know the surnames here. What was... In fact, hold on. Does it say in the Beauty and the Brat what... She got married? Did you get married? Creatively allowed her to open up Sherry's hair. She worked at an animal shelter. Her late husband meant she died, but nothing. Right, fucking Mark Clementine was also called like Crocodile or some shit, wasn't he? Billy Sims. Oh yeah, because there's the whole thing with a school. Billy Sims is the principal of Sandstone Canyon High School. He was punched by Crocodile Clementine at a graduation ceremony, and then Billy Sims just like flipped him. Wrestling move mixed with a backward somersault, which immediately brought both men to the floor. How did you do that? Trust me, I'm surprised as anyone. If he was famous, right? Because I remember, like, there must be something more on this. I'm just trying to think when he was... When was that? 1994, so there must be a... Defunct Portland Telegraph. Portland Telegraph had an article slightly longer than most about the Billy Sims incident, mostly because the assault of Crocodile Clementine had appeared in the paper before. Because of the somewhat comedic sensationalism of the events in question, and because the readers were already familiar with Mark Clementine, they filed it under a special banner called Croc Watch. Mentions that our good old friend Croc Clementine was actually in attendance at the high school graduation because his daughter was walking to the stage. He was apparently not allowed to attend. His ex-wife had a restraining order filed on behalf of her daughter, but did so anyways. It was unknown to the school staff, including Sims at the time, who he was, but a security guard recognised him, and that's when the trouble started. Clementine was approaching the side of the stage to try to avoid the guard when the exchange between him and Sims took place. Article finishes up by facetiously asking, what will Croc get up to next? Stay tuned for more Croc Watch. Fortunately for your investigation, there was no more instances. Okay. Piketty, maybe? Piketty magazine's kind of sleazy, so they're not afraid to publish a few details that more reputable news publications normally wouldn't. You look up the Billy Sims incident, it seems they did report on it. You gain a few new bits of information, though it might not be useful. Billy Sims was once arrested for throwing a Molotov cocktail at a company that was found to be testing their products on animals. Based. According to police paperwork, Crocodile Clementine's bail was paid for by Tostarito Jacobson. It was fairly expensive. Piketty interviewed other students that were at the event to find out if anyone knew anything. The word going around was that Mark Clementine showed up because his daughter Mary was graduating that night. Fuck, it's one of them. Right, we're gonna go with Mary Clementine. I swear to God, did this fucker call his daughters Mary and Beth after his mother, Mary Beth? If there's two of them. Totally will, right? We'll look up Tostarito Jacobson just to see what he's up to. Fuego's Fiesta, a regional Mexican fast food chain, held a competition in 1993 that offered free meals for life to anyone that legally changed their name to Tostarito. Tostarito was a burrito with a cylindrical tostada shell inside the flour tortilla. According to a few sources, Tostarito Jacobson used to be named Lucinda. So Lucinda Jacobson... So, that wouldn't have been the partner, right? Like, that's not the spouse, because the spouse had the restraining order. Surely they wouldn't pay that. Nothing on Teen Blast, Butler County Times, Business Watch, Miami Mercury, that was discontinued, News Time. News Time did a small piece about a fight between Sims and Crocodile, but tried to approach it from a different perspective. Their goal was to paint a picture of the two men involved from others who knew them best. Not only did they manage to interview Sims' wife, Carla, as well as multiple staff members at his high school, but they hunted down Colleen Webb, Mark's ex-wife. There we go. According to the section with Colleen, she and he met when he worked for an airline. She worked in an airport newsstand. He was a drinker and would often have wild mood swings. When he was charged with assault of a fellow pilot in 1975 and lost his job, they divorced. At the time, she was pregnant with their second daughter, and she felt she needed to get out before things got worse. She left him and moved to San Diego to live with her sister, and told her oldest that her dad had to fly planes for the army. She raised them both by herself, and although she never went through the trouble of changing their names legally, they used the Webb name so that nobody would connect them to her husband. Okay, so does that mean that I'm saying both are Clementines? I guess so. Because they're like, if we're going by legal name. I don't know who the fucking daughter is though. So that's got to be something. I don't know why that's not. Who the fuck is Lucinda? Jacobson. That seems odd. Okay, we'll look up maybe Mary Clementine. Or Mary Webb. Hey, there we go. A Mary Webb in San Diego has a website called Webb on the Web. Apparently it's a personal travel diary that also doubles as an advertisement for a travel agency. The descriptions of Mary's services, including booking flights and cruises, almost all of them involve extremely niche audiences. It seems Mary is the #1 agent when it comes to booking spiritual vacations aboard ghost ships and in specific hotel rooms that are said to be haunted. She also has a dedicated section for more traditional modern cruises that cater to specific groups such as fans of boy bands. In the diary entry, she talks about the trips she's personally taken and uses that as an opportunity to feature descriptions of amenities and excursions that the ships offer, even when you're on them to see a specific band or ghost. There's also pictures of ships, hotels, landmarks and places she's visited, as well as a picture of Mary herself with a ship in the background. One of her diary entries actually mentions the day that the photos were taken. She was allowed onto the ship on a port day in San Diego with a professional photographer. She knows the photo of Mary has been added to your evidence. Excellent. Mary Webb from her website, Webb on the Web, paranormal travel agency. She's apparently found a niche booking vacations for lovers of the strange and unknown. This is a photograph of Mary in front of an alleged ghost ship from the 1800s. It was lost at sea and turned up without any crew several days later. The Mary Celeste. Nobody knows exactly what happened. Fans love to tour it and come up with their own paranormal theories. A company called Corporate Composition Photography is listed. Let's have a look at them. But first, in fact, we'll add her into there, and I'm guessing she's a travel agent. Okay, we seem to be kind of locking in here a little bit. Corporate Composition Photography is a photography studio that was listed on a few different sites for businesses in San Diego. Seems to have been impossible to hire them to take professional quality photos for businesses of all sorts, but it no longer exists. Companies also mentioned a photography site with some IRC chat logs. Seems like the site is the personal page of a member of an IRC photography channel. They have archives of logs that have been saving since 1993. One of them was from 1996 when Val, the former head photographer for the Corporate Composition Photography, did a Q&A with their users about taking pictures for promotional materials and print ads. Most of the questions and answers are pretty technical. They not only seem irrelevant but generally go over your head. One of the questions, however, mentions that Val was on the cover of Telephoto and asks about Iraq. The question was quickly shut down by the person running the Q&A, who said Val does not wish to answer any questions from his photojournalism days, nor does he wish to talk about LBP. Okay, so we've got a new telephoto. Val. What is LBP? Oh, Jesus. I mean, we're gonna have to look them all now. I mean, Lebanese pound, sure. Lower back pain. Lower back pain's a pretty serious problem. One recommendation seems pretty useful to you. When you're sitting in front of a computer for hours doing genealogy research, it's recommended you try and sit with good posture. Additionally, standing up and stretching once in a while can be useful as long as you don't strain yourself. Fair. Lead-based paint. Can't imagine anything. Low blood pressure. Also an issue. Louisiana Board of Pharmacy. That sounds interesting. Long Beach Peninsula. Not much. Now, Lynch Building Plastics. Luxury Bridal Photography. It's a photography business, which is a good start. Unfortunately, it seems like it's located in Ireland. Its owner is named Nicholas. He goes by Nick Luxury, but you doubt that that's his real name. It's very unlikely this is related to what you're looking for. Lexington Business Payroll. Lincoln Baby Photography. Seems like a solid lead as it mentions a Val, an award-winning photographer on the page. It's a business in Beacon, New York, and on the site is a picture of a baby and a camera captioned with Cam Lincoln reaching for his namesake. I guess he takes after his father, Val. At the bottom, the website says copyright 1998-99. Okay, who the fuck's that though? Laura's Bras and Panties? Might as well check that out. How did you think this would be related to your search? Exactly, okay, owned. Nothing to do with the Roottrees there, and Logline Books and Publishing. Logline's a small publisher in California that does limited edition runs of movie scripts. None of their books seem related to your search. One of them is for the big screen adaptation of the puzzle game Fog. Okay. Yep. Lincoln baby photography. Like, where the fuck is... Like, what is this? What weird rabbit hole this has been. Like, I guess telephoto will go with Val? That's not... However, mentions that Val was on the cover of Telephoto and asks about Iraq. Who the fuck is Val? Val Lincoln, maybe? Yeah? The only Val Lincoln with any kind of web presence is Valerie Lincoln, a realtor in Michigan. There's no connection between... Okay, so what if I then check the periodicals then? Val Lincoln... I didn't spell that right, did I? Telephoto. Val Lincoln was featured in Telephoto. The cover, which featured one of his photos as well as portions of the article, have been added to the evidence. Into the Storm, Val Lincoln's War on War. Okay, so Clementine's there. Oh. Okay. Telephoto is a photography magazine. This 1992 issue focuses on the photos of Val Lincoln, photographer who went overseas during Desert Storm. He won the Sepia Award for photojournalism, specifically for the photo on the cover. Oh, wait, hold on. No, so this is just Val. This isn't Val, this is somebody else. This is one of the Clementine girlies. Val got his start in high school when he took a photography class. In his own words, he couldn't decide what else to do and thought it'd be the best career in the world to shoot for Playboy. Quickly found he had a knack for it, began to skip lunch in his free periods, spend more time in the darkroom. After graduating, tried to pivot to landscape photography but didn't have any passion for it. I work much better when I'm trying to tell the story of a person or an object. He got lucky when a photographer mentor of his, who was going overseas to cover the war, decided to take a chance on him. Most people wouldn't call it lucky to go to an active war zone for no pay, but he bought my plane tickets, all my meals, and even pulled some strings so he could rush my passport. For someone that had never had a real job or even left California, it was a hell of a break. Val was only 19 at the time, shot the photo that won him an award the third night he was here. The photo depicts Lisa Clementine, who lost an arm in Operation Desert Sabre. According to the article, women were not subject to direct combat, and Lisa was in a vehicle at the time. The vehicle had to pull over suddenly when the road ahead was partially destroyed. She and a fellow soldier were severely injured by a landmine. I ran into Lisa just after her surgery, took this picture, then until she shipped out I kept finding excuses to go back and take more pictures of her. Guess it was fate because that's the photo that won me an award and got me into your magazine and also led to my engagement. Just earlier this week she agreed to become Mrs. Lincoln. Ah, hold on, so we've got, it's actually Mary over here because there's no marriage here, so we're going Lisa Clementine, you go there, you are there, you go there, you become Val Lincoln, and then there is Cam Lincoln, I guess. Occupation baby. She's not a travel agent, she is it military? And travel agent is there. Nice. Things we love to see. Also got Ophelia Williams, Peter Yastrzemski, Colleen Webb, Lincoln Val, or Val Lincoln even. Nice. Wait, we didn't get Lisa Clementine? How the fuck did we not get Lisa Clementine? Or does it only takes 4, I guess. Okay. It's weird that it took Cam Lincoln but didn't take Lisa. Okay. I mean, it's progress. A little bit. Lisa Clementine. That's all well and good. Is there fucking Operation Desert Saber? I can't imagine that'll be interesting. Part of the larger Operation Desert Storm, also known as the Gulf War. How very topical. Right, what now? Okay, so that's... Yeah, so Miracles obviously had quite the mini dynasty. That's the offshoot of his other mini dynasty. Don't know why that's not been a thing. Right, what now? She's got another photo. How do I find out who Sharon Williams married? That's what I want to know. Got Sherry's hair. Maybe we search her name specifically? Nope. About Sherry. Husband Pete, late husband's college roommate. They built a charity together. Is there like a... Oh, fuck off. Really? Sherry is a stylist for the show. Is there a Sherry York? No. Nothing on Peter. Mark's the oldest. So that's actually the wrong way. Oh no, our oldest is Tony, what the fuck? Sorry, totally misread that there. And fucking cricket. It's a cat name. Oldest Tony seems to get the short end of the stick. 2 listed accomplishments, he's oldest straight A's. Mark's Little League. I mean, that... Who the fuck was she first married to? Right, Piketty, this fucking thing is my... I hate it. That's the worst one. 6 pieces. There's clues and shit there. Barb Williams. There was the whole Greta thing. history. Springfield, Georgia, Greta Flores. That's how I found that book. Which is fine. Then there's the sisterhood stories, all of which I have kind of digested. There's apparently 3 things from here though. Maybe Isabel Crosby, I could look her up. Nope. Okay. There was the Gazette, Chris Elmsworth. I don't think there's anything really that interesting here. Vic Elmsworth, maybe? Vic Elmsworth, according to his own personal page, is apparently one of 3 brothers. All 3 of them are contributors to the Gazette. All of the articles he's written are archived on this site. Okay, here we go. According to Victor, he'd seen Barb talk more than once. On this particular occasion, Barb's talk was at a very large church. It was clear she was an expert at matching the presentation of her concepts for any particular crowd, because she received a standing ovation. Barb started with a story about loss, specifically the loss of a bicyclist who'd been hit by a car. She spoke about the death of any person as a darkness in their loved ones, a cold, empty void that begins to creep into the space where there was once light, because the light could never return exactly how it once was. She says the only option is to nurture new sources of light to help fight back against the darkness. Conclusion was that finding the hidden meanings in tragedy is the most important thing we can do. She used multiple biblical comparisons and finished by looping back to her initial story and how she personally began to come around to this ideology. The biker who died was her son-in-law, and the Lanes Across America charity was created to fill the newfound darkness her daughter experienced. Okay, so we can go here. Lanes Across America is the charity that was to fight. Okay, we're on it. The death of Drew Smith. I'm guessing that's Andrew Smith. Drew was biking home from work when he was hit by a car. Each year since, Lanes Across America has grown. They now have offices in over 12 major metropolitan areas, including Miami, where the charity began. The website for the charity has a picture of Drew, and that's great. But fuck it, give me the photo. The rest of the wedding party's cropped out. Why? What the fuck? Formerly Lanes Across Miami. Searching across Lanes Across Miami does narrow down the pages and pages of articles you found earlier to only those with a more in-depth history about the charity. Lanes Across Miami was formed in 1987, became Lanes Across America in 1984, founded by Sharon Smith after the death of her husband. Sharon and some other board members stepped down in 1982 and the current leadership took over. One of the oldest articles has a full uncropped version of the same wedding photo from the Lanes Across America website. Seems that after Sharon left Lanes Across Miami, they began to crop her and the rest of her wedding party out of the photo to focus solely on Drew, who's the face of the charity. There we go. So that's her. That's Peter. Don't know who that is. Ah, that's the bonus photo of Barb, probably. There we go. And that also gives us Peter. Nice. Which also means that we've got Smith for the last names here. I hope. So is she a charity person? Have I not got the students right? Is he a student in college now? Is he now a baseball person? I don't... How the fuck are all of these not right? Is there a charity worker? Chef? No. Because that would be 4. Andrew Smith. Sharon Williams. Again, guessing that's Peter as kind of best man. Old college roommate. Okay. Why is that not a fucking thing? Like, that should be the 4. She was military. I don't know if she's changed. Val Lincoln. So, photographer, Lisa Clementine, ran into Lisa, she was shipped out. She agreed to become. Oh God, is she a housewife now? I really hope not. No. I was gonna say, like, fucking Anthony Smith. Like, let's fucking look at Sherry's fucking hair again. Tony, Mark, and Cricket. Tony Smith. And Mark Smith. Unless, did they take the... Surely not. Nah. Andrew Smith, Drew Smith, Anthony Smith. There's not, like, actually a Tony. What? I don't know why this isn't working. I absolutely don't have a fucking clue. Checking the periodicals, telephoto, and Val Lincoln. Keep on forgetting that doesn't pop that up. So Lisa Clementine, who was in the military, which is correct. This is Sharon Williams. Now, she was originally Sharon Smith, but that was she wasn't originally Sharon Smith. She was Sharon Smith after she was married. She is Sharon Williams now. She is Sherry's hair. Which is a hairdresser. And nothing else. And he's straight A's, but he's still a student, K-12. I am so confused here. Every time you get 4 additional key relatives. Aren't key relatives the large ones? Name, occupation, and portrait. That doesn't make sense to me, fuck's sake. Right, we'll go with fucking I want to solve this. Why is this not fucking making sense? There's no evidence on any of these. There is one here. I'm wondering, does she doesn't go by Sherry, doesn't she? Doesn't. Fuck. Okay. Life was over, scraped together an English degree, Sherry's hair. Yep. About Sherry. Her husband Pete was her late husband's college roommate. That's the marriage thing. Built a charity, they left it. I don't get it. We follow the thread there. New Hampshire, Cricket York. Search Cricket York. Nah, fuck. Right. Let's go with, what was it, Stephen Garland? There was a thing in like the periodicals for that, wasn't there? Stephen Garland. In fact, it was Christine Garland, wasn't it? And it was in Butler County Times. Antonelli's. Christine Garland responded. We'll look up Rochelle Zimmer. Nothing. We'll look up Rochelle Zimmer in here. Oh, come on. Rochelle and her husband Mark Zimmer have a few mentions in the Butler County Times. They owned Antonelli's. Mark owned a local bookstore called Bookmarks. We go with Mark Zimmer. We'll go with Bookmarks. Lauren did a book signing. Butler County Times, so what, like, is that Zimmer versus Garland? Mark Zimmer, Steve Garland. Steve Garland. Article. A listing for his weekend cooking classes, gourmet for the groovy. I feel like we're going to have a look at this. Nothing. Blog mentions he's been given lessons from his home kitchen for the last month so that he can keep an eye on his son. Third was from 1991 and is entitled Local Author Sued by Former Butler County Resident. Seems that a local author by the name of Mark Zimmer was sued by Garland after Garland saw Zimmer promoting his book Kitchen Tales on television. His recipe book was partially plagiarised from recipes that Steve Garland would give his students during his cooking lessons before he moved. Article mentions that although recipes are hard to copyright, Garland accompanied each recipe with a short fiction about how he learned it. These usually doubled as a way to remember certain ingredients. Garland's bean salad, for example, involved making a trade with a gnome for some magic beans. Apparently these stories were found word for word in Zimmer's cookbook, in addition to additional stories that followed the same format. So this is back to this fucking plated loaf thing, which is a rip-off, so we know that Steve Garland wrote it For years, two bakers, Flora and Yates, flirted. They grew their friendship, compared recipes, combined knowledge. She loved his salt and pepper beard. He adored her rosemary cheeks. They thought sweetly about one another, but one day whisked away, conscripted to bake the army's bread. By the oil of the lamp, Flora's tears began to salt her bread. 10 to 12 years later, they met again, seemingly by fate. Unique dough had earned her a position as the king's personal baker. Yates had found success as well. He baked for the kingdom's 45 diplomats. One day they returned from the Dutch Isles with a gift. 450 unbaked loaves were sent to the palace bakery to teach a method that required no kneading. Seems all whatever. Upon seeing Yates, Flora was both delighted and distraught. She felt as if she was torn in two. She'd not been aware of the gift, but already prepared buns for the palace ovens. She wished to greet Yates warmly, was struck with fears that he'd be unable to bake with her, that she'd face retribution for being unprepared. She cried to Yates, adding more salt to her dough. Yates eased her pain. He insisted she had no obligation to prepare for a return she thought impossible. But he shared her fear of retribution. He knew if they did not solve her predicament, they'd miss their final chance to bake together. In the end, instead of following in the present, they worked together to shape the future. They twisted and entwined their doughs, baked them as one. Thus was born the plated loaf. Bankrolled by the king, Flora and Yates spent their days baking together. They travelled for 45 years, then settled in for 15 more. Their souls were golden with no regrets. Lastly, bake for 45 minutes, remove lid and observe until crisp. Okay, so this is nicked from Steve Garland, and it's clearly Yates and Flora, that's the two of them. And apparently he gave her a Dutch oven or something, I don't know. I'm guessing Flora's unique dough had earned her a position as the king's personal baker. She was a secretary. Yates had found success as well. He'd baked for the kingdom's 45 diplomats. One day they returned from the Dutch Isles with a gift. Sent to the palace bakery to teach a method that required no kneading. Don't get all that. Upon seeing Yates, Flora was both delighted and distraught. She felt that she was being torn in two. She'd been made aware of the gift and had already prepared buns for the palace ovens. Is this the whole she already had a bun in the oven? Ah, fuck. I don't know. It's a bit over the top. So no, we want to look at... We've already got this, don't we? We've got fucking Mark Zimmer kitchen tales. I think we've already got that. Re-released as Garnishing the Truth. Maybe look at that. It was a cookbook credited to Garland and Zimmer, released in 1994, quite successful. According to the book review, the recipes are accompanied by stories to help the reader remember the ingredients. The reviewer says, seems perfect for learning to cook with the entire family. Yep, so Stephen Garland. Steve Garland, even. Okay. Fuck. I don't seem to be making a dent in finding out this. Or a photo of her, for that matter. Christine Farrow. Maybe she's in here somewhere? Nope. Christine Garland was married in 1977. So how does that match with 1978? Okay. So I'm gonna go with, well, there's a Garland here. Fucking 5 pieces flavour development, travel expenses. More flavour development, tons of expenses on that. What the hell is Grandorf Dove? Grandorf School for the Deaf, formerly Grandorf Dove, is located about an hour from where the Roottrees offices used to be in Butler County. Okay, according to their website, Grandorf Dove, because Grandorf is the last name of the founder, Dove is the Danish word for deaf. Founder had issues with government translators, leading to an odd transcription issue. In 1990, it was renamed to better represent the school's purpose and to correct the embarrassing lack of effort and awareness demonstrated by the government officials in those days. Staff is listed on the website. Scan through all of the biographies and find that the principal, Miss Ford, is fluent in 5 languages, including American Sign Language. Been working at the school for over 15 years. Miss Ford's bio also mentions she's not deaf herself, rather learned sign language to communicate with the deaf, and she was responsible for securing the funding for the Hudson Wing. Okay. So the Hudson Wing... So Miss Ford was responsible for securing funding for the Hudson Wing from Guy, who... probably shagged her. Mentions the donation came at the insistence of an employee of Roottrees at the time. It mentions that she learned ASL from the main school before the Hudson Wing even existed to surprise her future husband, who was deaf. After realising how useful a service like this could be to non-deaf people that wish to better serve those with hearing issues, she convinced Roottrees management to invest in the school. Hudson Wing opened, she became the first teacher at the campus. First it only operated on weekends, but since then it's added afternoon classes on some weekdays. So... the decision came from assistance from employee of Roottrees. Mentioned she learned ASL, so... So there was a Ford. Is there a Ford in here in the company? Fuck, where's the company stuff? Ford. I mean, that might have been a married name though. Shit. Ford. And when was this? This was... okay, so it was the year after. Terry O'Connor. Susan Ford no longer works in this department. Okay. Are we going with... here, maybe? Let's look up Susan Ford. Nothing, fuck. Hudson Wing. Guessing she named it after her husband? I don't know where in the timeline this is, fuck. Nah. Okay. Bollocks. We got a wee bit more. Gwyneth Madsen and a Gwyneth Cattrall. Don't know who the final affair was. Don't know who any of these are. This is getting really frustrating. Right, looking at... Susan Ford was hired under a special category that only existed for a year. In the meantime, let's just, like, Roottrees Australia. Roottrees Australia is one of the companies created to manufacture and distribute Roottrees candy. It was developed as part of the Roottrees Everywhere initiative in summer 1979. History website for Roottrees Australia. Charles Martin, who owned a company that manufactured licorice in Australia, was tapped to run the Roottrees factory after he impressed the American leadership of the Roottrees candy company at the time. Did have some success only in certain regions. Manufacturing leg of the company shuttered in 1992 after the death of Martin, and Roottrees Australia now serves as an importer and distributor. Okay, Roottrees China. China Roottrees is one of the companies created to manufacture and distribute Roottrees candy. Developed as part of the Roottrees Everywhere initiative during the late 70s, China began to go through a period of economic reform. Lang Hongbo was said to personally win over the Roottrees family and was the owner of multiple textile factories. Did not wish to import the ingredients and build a special factory to manufacture the candy in China. Instead, they managed a deal to import bulk unpackaged Roottrees candy, label it for not only China but additional markets. Hongbo, who was already in his mid-50s when the deal happened, only had daughters, and his brother Lang Hongyu took control upon his death in 1986. After Hongyu died in 1982, it passed to the oldest child from the next generation, Lang Xinyu. Okay. Like, that's good and all, but I'm not getting anything. Lang Tai Textile Corporation. Company seems very accomplished, cites quotes from many different reporters and news articles in nearly every language. Also mentioned quite often on websites about Chinese businesses. The page contains a very rudimentary leadership timeline. Goes back 250 years. Current CEO is a woman simply listed as Xinyu. Site doesn't list her last name, though she does appear in the family tree below Hongbo. Lang Tai has a few American logos on its page. One is the Roottrees logo, another one is Tran Quilts, and the third is Piece of Asia. These are going to be so many fucking... Like, there's going to be so many red herrings here. I feel it. Okay, sorry, I spelt it wrong. Roottrees Brazil, sometimes erroneously referred to as Roottrees Brazil, is one of the companies created to manufacture and distribute Roottrees candy. It was developed as part of the Roottrees Everywhere initiative. Unlike some of the other Roottrees results, Roottrees Brazil seems to be a success. You do some rough translating and find a significant amount of information. Only region in which the caviar flavoured 5 pieces were a hit. Primary reason was the factory still exists to this day is solely to create that flavour, which comes in its own standalone 5 pieces bag with Portuguese writing. Small town named Alvalagos, near the municipality of São Bernardo do Campo, became the location chosen by the Roottrees Candy Company after a newly elected local politician named Edson Soares heard they were planning a new factory and petitioned them in early 1979. Factory was controversial, locals didn't want it there. The Roottrees visited Brazil around Christmas, managed to break ground on the project. Since then, however, it's been operating relatively smoothly, except for 2 incidents. The first was Incendio de Bordo in 1982, and the second was an unsuccessful strike in 1985, involved all of the factory workers being replaced. Great. The factory was originally built and run, according to paperwork at the time, by a small company called Nova Cooperação de Doces Brazil, which literally translates to New Brazil Candy Corporation, no longer exists. Great. Nice. Okay, that just gives us the same page. Let's look up the politician, maybe? Brazilian politician, find a dissertation published by a college student as part of their PhD in history. Focuses on the rise of democracy in Brazil. It seems up until 1988 Brazil was run by the military. Politics showed that time were often a hotbed for corruption and nepotism. Paper tells of a few politicians at the time, including Edson Soares. Edson's the former mayor of Alvalagos, Brazil. Before politics, he was a manager of an automotive manufacturing plant for a major American car company. Put in charge of Alvalagos by the military government, as mayor he used his manufacturing background and knowledge of American business to establish new factories, distribution plants, other business ventures in the area. This had two side effects. First, they became quite rich. Second, many locals were forcibly relocated. This did not make him a popular mayor, and what the paper speculates was a move to counteract his unpopularity. His wife Sonia was discreetly put in charge of a television station called Telerede. Jesus fucking Christ. He often used this connection to ensure supporters would appear on local television, spouting his beliefs and emphasising his political victories. It's not known where he's gone. Dissertation even speculates he likely fled to stay alive. What about so we go for Sonia Soares Telerede. Nothing. What about Sonia Soares? There was a news anchor called Flavio Soares who has a mother named Sonia. Here's an interesting question. He's one of our names. Oh, Guy, you fucking rascal. Young Brazilian newscaster, a bit of a cult following, discourse surrounding him, and to put it in polite terms, lewd. There's a website about something called fan fiction that has a small section dedicated to him. Seems that women and some men of a wide variety of ages and writing skill tend to find him worthy of inclusion in their stories. You skim some of the tales and learn there's a common thread that he's currently dating a supermodel named Ashley York. Interesting. Many stories either seem to ignore her existence or get her out of the picture quickly. Also, more of traditional fan sites listed, including his age, 18, zodiac sign Libra, same as me, his favourite food grilled steak, his mother's name is Sonia, Flavio translates to golden haired. Guy Hudson! Ashley York's a British supermodel who does ads for perfume, clothing and jewellery. She's been subject by some controversy in the past few months, having been protested by Pia for wearing fur on the cover of some magazines. Okay. That's Guy Hudson's fucking child. To Natasha, kisses from Brazil, Flavio. I feel like it's here then. We'll give it a whirl, right? We might as well just have a go. So fucking Flavio Soares, and he is a TV presenter or a newscaster, news anchor. Right, if it's not there, then it's potentially there. Fucking news. Fucking hell. Right, there we go. Right. That was a brute force a wee bit at the end there. How do I still not have this fucking military woman, Lisa Clementine? How is that not a thing? Holy shit. They're together. The fuck?
So I just have to say, the work you're doing here is fantastic.
Thanks.
So fantastic, in fact.
There goes Clark. Always the bad cop.
Oh no.
Well, our law firm, Ruby Legal Enterprises, is having trouble keeping up.
Funny
They're
that.
actually begging us to stop submitting new Roottrees. They said it's getting difficult to verify your progress.
Get better at
Well,
it.
consider that a good thing. I told Clark you'd get results.
She says that like I didn't believe her. Regardless, the bad news is it's going to take 5 potential tree additions before anyone locks in from now on.
Fuck.
Good luck.
And keep up the good work.
Not even any new information. They just like, oh yeah, by the way, get fucked. Right, so we know that this is Sonia. I'm going to just tidy up before I wrap up. She was also a news anchor. And then there is Edson Soares, who I'm guessing they split up. That puts potentially Susan Ford around here. How the hell do I not have Lisa Clementine? That is ridiculous. Right, I will save that for next time. Thank you very much again for joining me, folks. We did make some good progress there. That was what, eight people we found. So we're getting there, slowly but surely. I think next time, if we can crack one of the 5, it'll all come together and we'll win. But yeah, thanks very much for joining me. I will see you in the next one. Catch you. Bye-bye.